just a little bit of background, I went to MIT, and so I was a part of the MIT SEDS chapter there. And so part of that, I got involved with the national board. So I was involved in being the webmaster and then being the vice chair for the executive board. And so one of the key responsibilities, at least that I saw, that I kind of created as an additional responsibility for the vice chair position was to reinvigorate the endowment fund. So the endowment fund was something that was initially created probably 10 years before I had come on. And they had tried to get it together, but it never really happened. They got raised maybe $500 or something for it. So I saw this when I was looking through archives, and I was like, this sounds like a really great idea. And so what the endowment fund is that you raise an amount of capital, and then that capital sits in a bank account, and then the interest, preferably a high interest yield in bank account, and then the interest off of that principal is used in order to fund activities for the organization. So say you have $300K in a bank account, and then maybe that allows you to have, say, $5K on an annual basis, which compared to what SEDS USA is usually able to operate on is actually very significant. Because in general, what SEDS USA is operating on is, well, getting support from chapters, and then chapters throwing in money for bailing, $10 here, $20 there. So that would really give a lot of cohesion to the organization for the national organization to be able to trickle down. And so that's what we had reinvigorated. And so we did that. We managed to raise about 30 or 40K worth of pledges, and most of that's been collected at this point. So I'd passed that on to various people who are in the vice chair position after I had left. And so they're still continuing that on and raising the amount of principal that we have. Once we get to a certain point around, I think probably about 60K or so, then it becomes viable from a bank account fees perspective to actually turn it in and turn it on and start using it as an endowment fund. So it'll be really great once that actually happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So when was it that you became involved with the Space Frontier Foundation?
So I became involved with the Space Frontier Foundation in 2008. So in 2007, I ran the SEDS National Conference, Space Vision 2007. And that was actually the second Space Vision conference that I had attended. That's the one that I ran. So I ran that, and it went off really well. It was probably one of the biggest Space Visions. And then, so Space Frontier Foundation was looking to engage SEDS people more, be able to bring in the younger generation and be able to bring in the SEDS crowd to help run their NewSpace Conference and help run some of their other projects and just get involved with that. And so they did a really good job of reaching out by offering volunteers room and board basically for conferences. And so after I had done Space Vision 2007, then one of the other roles, shall we say, of vice chair was organizing students to be able to go off and represent SEDS and gain experience for themselves at different conferences. And so one of the conferences that I was engaging was the NewSpace Conference. And so for years I had been sending a few people off to the NewSpace conferences, and then in 2008 was when we started to really increase the number of people that we sent off to NewSpace in particular, because SFF and Will Watson in particular was trying to engage a lot more. And so I was organizing volunteers for that, and then I ended up taking on a few manager level positions myself, and then Will was able to convince me to go out and actually go to the conference and help follow those along. And so I did that, and then the next year Will had asked James Pura and I to co-chair the NewSpace Conference. And so we did that for another couple years, and then James went off to run our banquet, our gala, and then he ran off to run the Advocates program with an SFF, so then I was chairing the conference. And so that's where we stand.
So is that your official title then, the chair of conferences?
Yeah, so my primary title is conference chair of the NewSpace Conference. I'm also on the board, so I'm also director with SFF, but at least from a conference perspective, it's conference chair.
Well, tell us a little bit about what's upcoming for the NewSpace 2013 conference.
Okay, so NewSpace 2013 conference, if you're not familiar with NewSpace conferences, the NewSpace Conference is kind of a conglomeration of trying to bring together really three main areas. One, which is the commercial space industry, where we have all these different companies, both new and old. So we love to be able to get in people like Maston and Virgin and Xcore, and we like to be able to bring in old companies that are established, Boeing's, Lockheed's, companies like that, and see how we can try to integrate those guys together, and what is it that we can do to provide additional support for them. How can we integrate those guys more with the government, with civil space, with NASA, with the military, customers that can be used in order to purchase services from all these new space companies, or space companies. And then the third part is on the entrepreneurial side. So, one potential customer is the government, but other potential customers are the business, or angel investors, VCs, people of that like. So we're trying to engage that community as well, which is why we moved the NewSpace conference to the Silicon Valley area, was so that way we can, number one, engage Ames, so we get the civil space, and two, we can engage Silicon Valley and get the investor community involved as well. So we try to pull all that together. And so at NewSpace 2012, we had the business plan competition, where we had our first prize was $100K, and so that was from NASA. And so we're working on solidifying the details of the coming year's business plan competition, but it's looking to be really great as well. Aside from that, we're able to get top representation from among the civil space community, between NASA. We have Lori Garver, confirmed again for NewSpace 2013. We had her 2 years ago, and it was great. And people from around the industry there. We have top leaders in the commercial space industry, people like Mark Sarangelo are there to represent things like that. Other government agencies, people like George Neild are great. People from the investor industry, we have people like Steve Jurvetson, who will be at NewSpace 2013 as well. So we're able to get people from all across these three different sectors to come and speak, and they're able to pull along other people from each of those sectors. So it creates a really good breeding ground for people to network and to come up with ideas and things of that like.